Hey, old man, give me everything.
Call an ambulance! Call an ambulance! But not for me!
ディアブルジャンプ三刀流ムートン煉獄シャトーニッ
Hey guys, chapter 1022 is out, and I don't think this needs to be said, but this chapter was amazing! Usually I'm not a big fan of chapters that move around too much, but this chapter had such good pacing and highlights within those short interactions that we got that it was really hard to not love it. But before we get into things, it would really help me out if you go hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, you know, if you feel like it. I'm not gonna force you. But anyway, let's get into it. Let's just get the worst part of the chapter out of the way first, and no, it was not Raizo versus Fukurokuju, but rather the announcement of the Tobiroppo's defeat. If you've been following this channel for the past couple videos, I've been saying that I don't believe the Tobiroppo are down. I think they're gonna come back, they're gonna have a round 2 with all the Straw Hats, and you know, we might get some switches and matchups and stuff, but that doesn't seem like is the case anymore. You know, maybe part of me was in denial, and I was really holding out hope that this would not be the outcome. Because, you know, everything that surrounded the Tobiroppo, what they were built up to be since their very first introduction, and just their overall portrayal within the Beast Pirate crew. But unfortunately, it looks like that they are really done for good. So what do you guys think? Knowing everything we know about them, did they match your expectations? Did they exceed them? Or were they just a letdown in terms of both their fight and character? In my honest opinion, they were mostly a letdown. In terms of character, I think that Who's Who is by far the best one with all the lore and connections surrounding him, and the best fight would be Robin versus Black Maria, mostly for what it did and accomplished for Robin's character. But outside of that, I think they were vastly overhyped, and that's not really our fault as readers for having these expectations, because they have been built up like that by Oda himself through the narrative. Literally half of them got 1 or 2 shot, and some of them didn't even get proper fights. Physically, the most impressive was Alti. Would I say she's the strongest out of all of them though? I can't even answer that, I don't know, because even her writing has been inconsistent. From clashing in base form with Luffy, to not being able to take Nami out in hybrid form, despite Nami being like the physically weakest member of the crew. She's like the glass cannon, right? It makes no sense why Alti couldn't knock her out. But anyway, I'll rant about this more in depth in another video. There's really no reason to talk about it here, so let's just move on. The countdown for Onigashima's descent has begun in typical One Piece fashion, and of course Oda would dick tease us with that cliffhanger last chapter, then not show anything about it. Thank you, Oda, you're the best, I love you. But anyway, let's get to the best part of the chapter, Raizo versus Fukurokuju.
霧の雷蔵ただいま参上
Okay, all memes aside, and I'll be honest here, I can't really tell who's dumber. Raizo for talking and giving away his location to Fukurokuju, or Fukurokuju for not being able to discern which was the real body of Raizo when the real one has a bandage around his forehead. Like noticeably so, and Raizo has a big ass forehead. But in all honesty, the fight was a lot more entertaining than I thought it'd be. Well, it was more of a skirmish, but what made it that much more enjoyable was Raizo's surprising bomb-ass dialogue. Now, ever since the Oniwa Banshu were revealed, I always wondered how would Fukurokuju fight, and because he's the leader and everything. And of course he fights with his earlobes, cause why not? It may not be that deep, but I think a possible explanation for this is that Fukurokuju is actually using the CP9 technique of Seimen Kikan. That's essentially what Kumadori did in Eni's lobby. Obviously, being from Wano, Fukurokuju made up a different name for it, and since he doesn't actually know what he's doing, he's classifying as a ninja art. We also delve a bit into Fukurokuju's ideology, which to me makes no sense whatsoever. Like, who is Fukurokuju really fighting for? He knows that Orochi is trying to destroy Wano, so Fukuro Kuju's actions can only mean that he doesn't care about the country whatsoever, which is quite strange to me as nearly everybody else yearns for the return of the Kozuki clan. Just because Orochi holds that title of Shogun, it doesn't really justify his sense of loyalty to him in my eyes. There has to be a point where you yourself should be able to discern right from wrong, and Fukuro Kuju just doesn't do that for some reason. Next up, we had Killer versus Hawkins, and I like how Killer is pretty much handling this with little to no difficulty, which does make sense based on his portrayal in Act 2 of Wano against Zoro and how he fared against the rooftop opponents. Now, I'm interested to see how he'll handle the dilemma that's ahead of him now. It seems like his only option for now is to subdue Hawkins, because obviously he doesn't want to hurt Kid. Or alternatively, he'll know how to counter Hawkins' ability just like he did with Apu, which does make sense because he's the one that chose them to make an alliance with Kid in the first place. So he must know what their weaknesses are or thought of ways to counteract their powers. On the other hand, however, how the hell does Hawkins' ability work? Since when was he able to snatch a life from Kid? Like, was it when he was imprisoned? I don't think so, or am I missing something here? I hope that Oda explains this because right now, Hawkins seems extremely broken. Moving on from that, my dear viewers, we have Law and Kid continuing their World Championship staring contest with Big Mom. The competition is getting heated. For now, it seems to be an even match, but with Kid taking a severe blow, it'll be that much harder to keep his eyes open. Meanwhile, Big Mom still seems to have extremely moisty eyeballs, as made apparent by her huge grin, so it doesn't seem like she'll be losing this competition anytime soon. Can Trafalgar D. Water Law keep his eyes open long enough to make this W? Find out soon after this commercial break. By which I mean whenever we get back to this. In other news, we have this sick panel of King and Queen. Now, from the looks of things, it seems like Marco was defeated off screen by King, and you know, King still looks kind of clean. Though I'll just give Marco the benefit of the doubt and say that he already overexerted himself beforehand, you know, healing everybody and fighting King and Queen at the same time. It kind of took its toll on him, and that's why he lost. But we can never really know because it was off screen, but it is what it is there. And Sanji was also taken out briefly, which is not surprising because he was fighting both calamities at the same time. Now, why doesn't he have his right suit on though? Since it was off screen, I'll just say that the calamities didn't give him enough time to transform, and I guess we'll just leave it at that. It was also surprising seeing Chopper call Zoro his lad. But if you don't remember, it's actually a side effect of his transformation, like he turns to an old man basically. Beyond that, we have my boy Perorin getting cucked again for like the third time in a row. Like, okay, I think this is it for him, to be honest. No, he doesn't stand a chance against Neko, especially in the state he's in right now. And this grudge against Pero Sparrow is just so unwarranted. I just can't help but feel bad for him, you know. Then we cut to King, who finds Zoro and is about to finish him off when Marco swoops in and defends him. Now, there are two interesting points to take away from this exchange that I'd like to talk about. Number 1, the Immortal Thistle. Marco uses a new named attack here called the Immortal Thistle. Now, we've actually seen this move being used way back in Marineford when he defended Whitebeard from Kizaru's attack. What's interesting here is that he didn't give this move a name before, which begs the question of how many attacks have we seen be used throughout the course of the series that are actually named attacks. For example, what was thought to be a casual slash from Mihawk that cut the iceberg or that cut the wave in half could actually very well be a named attack that required some effort at the very least to produce. Now, the attack that Marco used does have some meaning behind it too. The word immortal is its own thing related back to Marco's phoenix abilities, but a thistle is a type of plant from the daisy family. At first, I thought it was kind of strange how Marco would incorporate plant names into his abilities, but it all has to do with what it's synonymous with. You see, the thistle represents overcoming adversity and difficult situations. It's a symbol of resilience and often associated with terms such as endurance, which is related to Marco's healing properties, unity, which is definitely referring back to the alliance and how everybody's working together and everybody trusts each other, and then finally there's victory, foreshadowing the result which will inevitably come at the end of the day, at the end of the arc, when everything is all said and done. Number 2, King's race and his abilities. So it seems like King can control fire and his race used to live on top of the red line. To dive a little deeper into this, in my eyes, King's race is a direct parallel or contrast to that of the Fishman. King controls fire while the Fishmen control water. King can fly and presumably live in the sky while the Fishmen live underwater. One lives above the red line while the other lives underneath it. One is nearly extinct and the other is quite abundant around the world. How this all ties in together is kind of hard to pinpoint with the limited information we have at the moment, but there's definitely something there. The other thing here is that King's race used to live on top of the red line, but now we know that the celestial dragons reside there. So what was the reason that the world nobles took over and how? Did they see King's race as a race of demons because of their physical features and got rid of them because they believed themselves to be supposed gods? Or was there some ulterior motive there? Did they want something that they had, for example? And how did they get rid of such a dangerous race to begin with? If all of them are like presumably like King, they can all fly and shoot fire, which makes them one of the most furious and destructive races to wage war against. The only thing or way I could see the celestial dragons winning is either through Emu or the power of an ancient weapon. Either case will be fascinating, and I'm looking forward to learning more about this topic. Finally, we make it to the end of the chapter where we have this amazing spread of Zoro and Sanji attacking the Calamities. I must say, this panel of Marco gave me the biggest chills. I gotta say though, Sanji's position does kind of look awkward. Maybe his body position combined with Zoro's makes a Japanese kanji, but I'm not really well versed in that, so I can't really say. Or maybe it's just the English number 3, which relates back to Sanji's name, San being the Japanese word for, or number for 3. Now, there are 3 routes that this fight could take place. It could either be a 1v1 and both characters split up, or it could be a 1v1 but the battle's kind of intertwined like in NA's lobby, or it could be a full 2v2 battle with both Sanji and Zoro working together to face the Calamities. Personally, I'd like to see a 2v2 where Zoro and Sanji work together. We don't get much of those if we even did ever get one. I think, yeah, Chopper and Usopp was in Alabasta was the last 2v2 we got, I think. So I think it'll be great to see Sanji and Zoro working together, because we know that's when shit gets real, right? Back to Marco's dialogue though, in my eyes this pretty much confirms that the Momotaro theory won't be happening. For one, he's too injured or exhausted to actually fight Kaido. However, he could still just play the role of support and help the people fighting by healing them. But what seals the deal for me is that he says he's done his part and that it's time for the stars to take the stage. Marco knows his place. This isn't a fight for him to win. If he has a big role to play in defeating Kaido, then that kind of contradicts with his dialogue here. Now, the question of what he will do now, because he's free basically, remains unknown, but we'll have to wait and see for that one. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the chapter. I thought it was great, the pacing was great, it had great highlighted moments for every character, we made good progress on every front. There's not much else to say here. We got some interesting lore about King's past and his relationships with the race and what happened to them and how they lived on top of the red line. It was great. We had a lot of speculation going on too. So this chapter, I wouldn't say it's better than the last one, because I just suck up to Robin. That fight was amazing. This was just a exposition chapter, a great one at that. So with that said, I will be giving this chapter an 8.5 out of 10, just 0.5 short of last chapter. Great nonetheless. And I'm looking forward to the next chapter because we are not on break. I don't think we're on break next week after that either. So it's about to be a great month for One Piece fans. With that being said, like the video if you liked it, subscribe to the channel for more future content like this, and I will see you all very, very soon.